So I'm getting ready for Christmas Eve, and I'm gonna make some fish. Whole bunch of seafood I bought today. So let's get going. Turn up the heat on the pot. I'm gonna be making black mussels. So the first thing I do is throw some olive oil in there. Got to make sure you use a pot big enough for all your fixings in there. So trying to put it on medium heat for right now, just to get it going. I use garlic with my mussels, so use as much as you want. Get that going a little bit. No salt. Let's see. For pepper, I'm going to use some homemade habanero sauce. Now, if I didn't have the habanero sauce, I would use some red pepper flakes. It's going to give it plenty of heat. Put some fire underneath that, and let that go. Now I got 2 pounds. These are farm raised mussels. I just cleaned them. They're all alive. I check every one. Here's a little hint if you're not familiar with mussels. Okay, you take them, and what you're going to try and do with your 2 fingers is rotate them. So you want to push one half of the shell that way and one half of the shell this way. If that animal is not alive in there, it'll give up. I just crushed it, but it'll give up, and those 2 shells will spin, and then inside that will either be a dead animal or mud, and you don't want either one. If they are open, like this one has no odor, so that animal is alive in there. All these are alive. I checked them all. They're clean. They're ready to go. So, and they're farm raised. There's no sand in there. These are grown in the water column on like rope. So they're not near the sand the entire time that they're raised. Okay, so now the other thing I put in there is a pinch of thyme. Not that much. Alright. Got a little color on that garlic. Put in a can of crushed tomatoes. Generally, when I use crushed tomatoes, I also use wine. Flavors go together, and what I do, I have homemade wine. Put a little bit in there, and I use that to clean out the bottom of the can. Rather than put the wine in the pot, I put the wine in the can and get the rest of the sauce out. Hot. Now this thing will take a lot of heat. Get this thing going. This is not going to be a slow cooking process. You want as much heat as possible. You can't stress that enough. These shellfish are alive, so what you want to do is you want to transition them from being a live shellfish to a cooked shellfish without taking a long time, because you want to maintain the freshness without them getting tough. And the other thing you're going to have to do, which I'll show, is you want to stir them occasionally, because these shells are going to open. The shellfish is eventually going to die, and it'll release. The mussel will relax inside the shell. It'll open up, and then you want the open shell to collect the sauce that you're making. So the sauce is going to do 2 things. It's going to transfer the heat from the pot into the shellfish, and then it's also going to make the flavors are going to make its way into the body of the shellfish, and then when you eat it, you get the best of both worlds. So It's not Christmas Eve now. I can't do all this in real time because I have multiple things that I'm going to be cooking for Christmas Eve, but this is just step one. This is a kind of tenderfoot video for people that need to be reminded that shellfish are a beautiful thing to eat, and it's part of some people's tradition on Christmas Eve. So once you get some heat going, all these flavors meet each other, put your mussels in. Okay, all the shells are open. There's no need to torture them any more than that. Once the flesh of the mussel separates from the shell, it's done. So another way of telling is when they start separating completely. So this shell is empty. So that means the muscle of the animal is inside the pot. You just fish those out and eat them with the spoon. So I serve it like this in a bowl. Take as much of the liquid as you want, and you could serve this over pasta. You could serve this with homemade pizza, spaghetti, garlic, and oil, antipasta. You could have this by itself with your other fishes. You make like a full course meal out of it. And after it cools, you can put it in the refrigerator. You could have it cold. You could heat it up again. It's very versatile. So, your first meal for Christmas Eve, the rough cut way. Stay tuned. Okay, the next thing I'm going to cook is salted pollock. So, this is loaded with salt. It has to be soaked. I started soaking it a day ago. Changed the water about a dozen times. Whoa! So, start off with one large onion, coarsely chopped. Some olive oil. So I soaked 24 ounces of pollock and roughly divided it in half. So right now I'm going to make what I call I'm going to make it as a stew. So this is very European. This would be like Spanish, Italian, Greek, Portuguese. That's the region of the world that comes from. Now they make it with pollock. I mean, they make it with cod. and I like pollock better. It's got a sweeter flavor. It's less expensive for me, and it's also available almost everywhere I shop. So what I do is I soak it, change the water a bunch of times. Not going to get into that. Then I poach it right here in another pot on the stove. I'm poaching the fish, so you don't really want it to boil. Fish is very light-bodied meat, so there's no need to cook the heck out of it. So you got your coarsely chopped onion. I like to put garlic in there. That's the timer for my fish. That's done. You can put as much garlic as you want in there. Get some heat on this. Okay, the other thing I put in here is capers. Gives it a very nice flavor. The other thing that goes well in here is black olives instead of the capers. And the other thing I like to put in here, which I'm going to use because everybody has it instead of the jalapeno sauce, red pepper flakes. So get those flavors going. I got a colander in the sink. So what I'm going to do is drain the fish and let them sit in the colander. Cook up those onions a little bit. This isn't a fancy meal, but this is very traditional, very rustic. It's got good value. The ingredients are not really expensive. It's a delicacy. I consider this a delicacy. I make this about 5 or 6 times a year, sometimes more often, but I like it. It's very low carb. It's nutritious. Okay, lower that heat a little bit. I'm getting some smoke. Okay, now you got your crushed tomatoes. Then you got your red wine. So at this point, the fish has already been poached. So from here on in, you just want to get some heat on the liquid in the pot. Let these flavors meet each other. Alright, I don't put salt in here. Any of the dishes that I make with the salted fish, they don't need salt. Even though you're draining it and soaking it for 24, 36 hours with multiple changes, it's loaded with salt. There's no need to put salt in it. So once this gets some heat under it, you can put the fish back in. So in the meantime, I'm gonna have some coffee. It's too early to drink wine, so I soak 2 packages of pollock. This is roughly half. The other half I'm going to fry, and that will be my next segment immediately right after this. And then I'll go on to 2 other items for Christmas Eve, and we should be all set with filming these segments, and then we can all go on to bigger and better things like eating and spending time with our families if we're allowed to, and watching YouTube videos and making planes and making plane videos and on and on and on, cleaning up after ourselves for Christmas Eve and Christmas. So get a little heat under that. And then at this point, you could put the fish in. So it's okay if it falls apart. Now the idea is, I should have poached. This is a little bit. This was poached a little bit. I had too much heat under it. So the idea is to let that fish stay together. Pollock is very flaky. So at this point, you don't want to stir it too much. Now, this fish is boned, but there's still bones in it occasionally. So don't get excited if that happens. If you're worried about that, before you poach it, you can run your hands over the fillet gently and see if you can feel any bones and try and pick them out. But generally, this is not a big deal for fish eaters to have a few bones in there. So don't get excited over it. Don't get upset about it, and don't let that stop you from making this dish, because this is fantastic. I will tell you right now, this is fantastic. So this is all done except for the shouting. I'm going to leave this go, shut the camera off, and start getting ready for my next dish. This is salted pollock stew. Alright, stay tuned. So this is the balance of the pollock fillets. I cut them in half. They're not very large. If they're very large, I cut them into thirds. These are cut mostly into half. And then I drained them on paper towels just to take some of the liquid off of them, because I don't want the oil to spatter. So I use a pot when I fry it, and I have some canola oil going. There's about a ½ inch of oil in there. So I have 2 beaten eggs right here. Let's see, we'll just maybe turn this a little bit this way a little bit so we see how I'm doing. I got my slotted spoon. This is where I'm going to put the fried fish. Those will be on paper towels so they drain a little bit and they stay firm. And this is what I'm going to be dipping them in after I egg them. This is cornmeal, white pepper, about a tablespoon of flour, and some parsley. So I really like the combination of the cornmeal and the white pepper. That's my deal. Now, I've also used it with ground ginger. Just don't use too much because it's a strong flavor. Same with the white pepper, really. And so then let's just get this going. So same thing as the other dish I made with the pollock. Occasionally there's bones in there. It's nothing to get excited about. Okay. So what I do is I usually go 2 minutes on a side. So I'm going to set the timer for 4 minutes. And then when it hits 2, I'll flip them. And you got to kind of keep track of, you know, obviously those have been in there for a few seconds, but the timer gives you a little heads up on how long. It's a light body fish, so you don't really have to cook the heck out of it. I like to use a deep pot, so if there's any spattering of the oil, it stays in the pot. You can use this dip, the same thing, the egg and the cornmeal. You could use that for flounder, sea bass, bluefish, striped bass. That type of stuff. Simple, cheap, homemade, nutritious. It's what you want. Now, if you have more than like 2 or 3 people, and this is all you're making, you're going to want to make a little more. Okay, so now we have 2 minutes have passed. Let's start flipping these a little bit. Okay, this is one of those things. No, and now, when you serve this, you could serve it plain, you could serve it with homemade tartar sauce, you could serve it with cocktail sauce. Cocktail sauce is a little, the flavor of it is a little strong for this, but if you like it, you could use it. The other thing is you could just put some lemon or some lime on it or eat it plain. That's fine. Have it with a vegetable or however else you want to eat it. It's not really a big deal. I've tried it with cocktail sauce, and I found the flavor to be a little strong because of the pepper. This is also really good. On the other hand, this is really good with the habanero sauce. Those flavors go together really well. So if you're making my habanero sauce, this is the fish you want to have with it. Just don't overdo it. So we're moving right along. There's not too much spatter, and I think the paper towels are helping that because a lot of the water is locked up in the paper towels instead of in the fish. So let's see, we're going to come up on 4 minutes. Okay, while we're waiting for the last batch to cook up, let's give it a try. Oh yeah. Very good. Very nice. Could use maybe a little bit more pepper, a little bit more pop. Very good. Goes good with a little lemon, just like this. If you're making this for friends and family, this is one of those dishes where you got to make sure you make enough, because you're going to start fights. Okay, trust me. When Rough Cut speaks, listen. This is the one you're going to want to make enough of, so that you don't have to have fights at the dinner table, because everybody's going to want some, and then you're going to have long faces when it's all gone, and then you're going to have to get out hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff for Christmas Eve. So listen up on this one. This is going to be a hit. And I'm not done yet. There's 2 more dishes I'm going to do on camera for Christmas Eve. So I'm going to wrap this up real soon. Alright, we're all done here with this. This is salted pollock, fried in canola oil, rough cut style. Alright, we're just about halfway done. Stay tuned. Alright, I'm going to wrap things up. Making spaghetti garlic and oil. This is a specialty. This is going to knock your socks off. So here we go. I got my pot. I just cooked the pasta. It's thin spaghetti. I don't like regular spaghetti. It's too heavy. So I made about a little more than half a box of the thin spaghetti. So I got the pot going. I got some high-end Razzle Dazzle olive oil. It's about 3 times more expensive than what I'm used to paying. I hope it's worth it. What I want is, I don't want value here, I want flavor. So I want this, everything in this dish to pop. So spaghetti, garlic, and oil. I got a ton of garlic. This is fresh garlic. It's not finely chopped, it's not coarsely chopped, it's just whatever you want. You could press it, you could put it in a garlic press. However, I recommend you use fresh garlic for this. Okay? Going to draw out a little bit of the flavor. You don't want it to turn brown. So, got to pay attention to that. Don't let it turn brown. Put in a few twists of pepper. Not too much. You just want a little back flavor. Just back flavor. Okay? If you like, you could put in some parsley. I'm going to do that later. I really don't want to cook that. Okay, so I had this a lot with my uncle. This is a real stick to your ribs dish. We used to have it on Friday with fried flounder, and I loved it. And I loved the spaghetti, garlic, and oil as much as I loved the fried flounder. So you get that going. In the meantime, I opened up some clams. This is going to be part of my Christmas Eve. I got another 3 or 4 dozen of these. Delicious. Now my own version of this, I got some chopped figs. I couldn't get my hands on the black figs, the mission figs. Put those in there. Give it a little more heat. This is my own recipe. You're not going to find spaghetti garlic and oil with fig in it anywhere. It's not in any cookbook. Nobody does it. It's my own recipe. It's going to knock your socks off. Trust me. You make it this way once, you'll never make it another way again. So, these are meals that you could make on Christmas Eve. These are meals you can make any time of the year. So the spaghetti you should cook al dente. What I also did was I reserved a little bit of the liquid from the pot with the starch in it. Okay. Flavors are meeting each other nicely. Turn the heat down. If you like parsley, if you had fresh parsley, you could put fresh parsley in there. And a little color, little flavor. Don't get carried away. So the idea, you could put as much olive oil in it as you like. What happens is when you cook the pasta al dente, it still has the ability to absorb liquid, including the olive oil. So turn the heat way down. Everything is already cooked. You got a lot of flavor in that garlic and everything. Turn the heat off. It's still absorbing olive oil. Put a little more liquid in there. All right. I'm going to have a late breakfast with some spaghetti, garlic, and oil, some fried fish. I got my clams going. I also have some creamed herring. All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging with me. Thank you for giving me the chance to share some of my favorite recipes. And I had fun. So enjoy your holiday, your Christmas Eve, your Christmas. Enjoy your traditions. Reinforce your family traditions, your heritage, and your faith. Everybody stay healthy, stay strong. Merry Christmas.